Like, you know how the temple was demolished, like the first temple, how it was destroyed or whatever. The first one or the second temple that was destroyed. So they used some of they used some of those bricks from that.
So I'm sure
for about 50 years, wasn't it?
Between what and what?
Between the second temple and the time of the wall.
No, as far as I know, the wall was part of the second temple. It's just the only part that wasn't destroyed. As far as I know. I'm not.
They didn't use the bricks on the first temple that was destroyed. I don't know. There's some controversy around this about where did you get the bricks, and I do have this question: when did you get it? How did you get these? Because it was a difference of 50 or 100 years in the middle.
You was Amir. Are you asking how many years was it between the first and second temples?
Yeah,
it was 70 years.
70 years, right? So they used
70.
70. So the first temple that was destroyed. And then 70 years later, they're using stuff from the first temple to build the second.
No. The second temple was constructed by the Persians in the 400s after the Babylonian exile.
Yeah, they used something from the first temple, like some whatever it was.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, just because they destroyed the temple, that doesn't mean like there's nothing left of it.
Yeah, but nobody did construction in 70 years. 70 years is a big time.
No, it wouldn't have been the case, because when they destroyed it in order to eradicate them, or destroy them. Not eradicate, but punish them, basically. But you don't even have to use
You said the second temple was built by the Persians?
Yes.
I thought it was built by the Jews who returned after the Babylonian exile.
It was sanctioned by the Persians. And I believe they funded the construction.
Right. Wasn't it like a king named Zerubbabel or some shit?
Cyrus.
Okay. But it was governed by a guy named Zerubbabel or some shit, I believe. I remember that.
I don't know. It was King Cyrus that sanctioned it and funded it, as far as I
know. Wait, were you guys talking about the second temple?
Yeah.
It was the question, and I think I heard it was about the bricks, right?
Yeah, Amir was asking about the bricks of some sort, but I'm not too sure about that.
So, from what there's a historian by the name of Roy Meadows Beach or something like that. I'll go ahead and try and find his video again so I can link it to you. But when it comes to the construction of the Second Temple and the treaty that the Romans had with the Jews went ahead and told the Roman king, like, hey, this is our treaty, this was our first temple, and this was the specification, so on and so forth. Now, there's a debate, historically speaking, around when they were giving this. When the Jews were talking to Cyrus specifically, right? And Cyrus went ahead and looked at what the Jews were saying. They were like, okay, now this is an interesting dilemma here. So he did two things. He got the Persians and the Egyptians, and people forget about the Egyptian connection here. The Egyptians were very crafty at going ahead. And
they were the engineers.
They were the engineers, and they also provided some of the building materials. While the Persians also were they were the ones who constructed it up. So there's a debate about historically how this happens. Either they were so good that they were able to replicate what the Jews were talking about, especially with the bricking of this thing, or, and this is kind of like one that's not proven, but the Jews will go ahead and say this, they kept pieces of the old temple with themselves, but it still doesn't explain how you go ahead and have that wall being built up, because that's a lot of bricks or building material to be keeping in your house, especially when you were, oppressed for that amount of years. So, again, historians will go ahead and divvy it up. The most likely guess is somehow the Egyptians were able to replicate what was the bricks of the first temple, or is just, a myth that was just passed on for, because it's a myth.
I don't know that, it doesn't have to be the bricks. I don't understand the significance of the bricks.
I don't either, but this is just a recorded part of history.
From what I just looked up, they said no continuation of the old temple.
There's a controversy around the bricks at Bangor.
Yeah.
I've never heard this before.
Just look it up. I was in a shock when I learned about this. I think this was about a few months ago.
Yeah, the Israeli historians have been pushing back other secular historians, saying that they had the Jews had the original bricks, but secular historians aren't able to go ahead and
No,
contend
but
with
they
the
can't.
historians of
They
this.
can't. They were in exile. Like they were just getting kicked out. Like how the hell would they hold this
Exactly.
many bricks?
No,
It's so
no,
heavy.
no. So when the exile happened, it's not like they took every single Jew and they exported them from the land. That's not how that happened. The Babylonian exile.
No, a lot of Jews stayed in Babylon afterward.
But most Jews stayed in Palestine. They weren't all exiled. What the exile was, so you have to understand the historical context, right? The Assyrians developed this strategy, and then the Babylonians adopted it later, where when they would conquer a city or a village, they would steal the god, right? And the gods were usually like statues. So they would steal the gods and hold them captive in their capital in order to threaten the people that if you revolted against us, we'll destroy your god. So when they conquered the Judeans, they said, "Where's your god?" And they said, "Well, we don't have a statue of a god. Our god is like heaven, like not a physical god. We don't have a physical representation of God." So what they did instead was they took the rabbis, like the Levites, the priestly class, and they held them hostage in Babylon. And with people that if you revolted against us, we'll kill your priestly class. So it wasn't like they took all the people of Palestine and then moved them to Iraq. No. Most of the people stayed in Palestine.
Just to add on to what Ben Goy is saying, but there was another little bit of context. They didn't just take the priestly of them. So they had a weird system of slavery where you couldn't really call it slavery, but it really was a derivative of it, where they had a containment, all of the Jews within Babylon, right? And these were very supervised. They did their work. They were doing what they were supposed to. And then there were some pockets of Jewish slaves that did also happen within the Babylonian area. But with the Palestinian Jews, again, they were also heavily supervised as well. Hence why I even said that there's a claim by the Jews that said they somehow kept the bricks within their homes, within the Palestinian lands. Now, that's where, but here's the thing, secular historians have even pointed out and said, how is this even possible? If that's the case, you would be having to house many building materials within the homes themselves. And for that evidence to be there, those houses are destroyed. Those houses are long gone. So you don't have any factual evidence for that to be supported. So
even if those houses were still there, that doesn't really matter. The point is that they took the bricks and made the temple out of them. So the bricks wouldn't be there anyway.
True, but again, the thing is that this is a point of history where you have no evidence to support any of that claim. So the only thing we can really say without a doubt is the Egyptians and the Persians, especially the Egyptians were master engineers, and the Persians were amazing in construction. So again, it could just be the thing that they made a beautiful second temple, and then their claim to this is, oh hey, it was the original bricks. It could or could not be, or it could be a derivative off of the fact that when Jews were rebuilding, they were saying this is just like the first temple, and then it just the meaning of that kind of got poisoned over time. It could be any of those things, but there's no empirical evidence to point to this being the actual bricks.
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, it probably wasn't because the temple, temples develop over time, right? They get bigger, right, over time. So it's very possible that when the second temple was constructed, it wasn't constructed to its final size or specifications, that it was destroyed in 70 AD. Because you're talking about a 400-year period of time, or 300-year period of time. I'm sure in 300 years the temple grew. I'm sure in 300 years they replaced, some stuff. It's not gonna stay there for 300 years unchanged.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
called that referred to a temple, not a synagogue? I mean, I don't know much, but I thought that like a house of worship for